Hi girls and guys, it's Mr. Tracky and we're on the right track. So guys, in today's video I sit down with Get Flanked and we speak about where Infinite Warfare went wrong and what we feel Call of Duty needs to do to bring itself back to where it previously was in the era where it was boots on the ground. Me and Get Flanked share a similar opinion, and we are both two people that previously admitted that we genuinely like this game, especially when it came out. We was also two people that put the hate to the side to make a decision off our own backs, and we were two people that ended up enjoying the game. However, as time has gone along, things have changed, and that's what this discussion is about. Guys, make sure you go down to the link in the description, go over to Get Flanked. He plays competitive search and destroy and has some immense tips, and also plays other games like Rainbow Six, so make sure you show him some love from Mr. Tracky. And here is the podcast.
Okay guys, I'm here with Mr. Tracky. Tracky, take me through your mindset with Infinite Warfare from the time that the trailer was released and it got all those dislikes up until now. What type of emotions have you gone through with this game?
What's good, Mr. Flanked? So basically, when the actual trailer came out and I seen the dislike bomb, that's what got me to watch the actual trailer. It wasn't the trailer itself, it was the fact that I was hearing that it got so many dislikes. And apprehensively I watched, hearing all the rumours I heard, and I embraced the trailer with probably a different mindset. But I am a Call of Duty diehard, so that's probably why my mindset was slightly different to other people. And I remember not so long ago, Black Ops 2 had a trailer that was disliked really badly, but it came out to be one of the best Call of Duties that people will recall in their memory. And I think initially from there, I ultimately gave Infinite Warfare a chance from the get-go. So I did feel like, in my mind, that it was typical in a way of the community just not being happy with anything to do with Call of Duty. And I definitely believe that a lot of the dislikes, even to this day, are just people that were bandwagoning. So that's my initial feelings on the trailer.
Yeah, I agree with that, and I think that's one of the reasons I was excited to sit down with you, because I think that we have a similar mindset when it comes to how we've approached Infinite Warfare. Obviously, I'm a fan of your channel. I've enjoyed watching your videos. I always look forward to seeing a Mr. Tracky video in my sub box. So throughout that, I think we've kind of been on the same page as far as our opinions on Infinite Warfare, and I agree. Like, I remember when that trailer came out and it was getting all the hate, I was just thinking, man, this is like good PR for Infinite Warfare, and I didn't really pay much mind. Yeah. And the other thing was it was campaign, and I was just thinking like most of the people who are disliking this don't even care about campaign. I know I don't care about campaign. And I'm the same. I've played one campaign, which is Black Ops 1. Right. So I didn't really care. I was just kind of like, okay, yeah, it's in space. That I would prefer if that wasn't the case. I'm just kind of, waiting to see what happens with the actual multiplayer at this point.
Definitely.
So I think I remember saying at the time, I was optimistic. I was cautiously optimistic is kind of what my mindset was at that time. So the dislikes didn't really bother me much. Like, okay, so going into release, the game's released. What are your initial impressions of the game?
Well, I approached the game with the typical feeling I have every year. However, there was one thing I did differently with the release of Infinite Warfare, which is I didn't attend a midnight release for the first time in any Call of Duty, which that's what started to resonate with me, that it might be different this year, but I still wasn't sure because I didn't have my hands on the actual product. I brought it as a digital download, and I actually got on the game, and I think for me personally, I heard a lot of people talking about it was a carbon copy of Black Ops 3, but in my personal opinion, I think that was a brilliant move from the likes of Activision or Infinity Ward, whoever decided to do that, because the game felt familiar. I just spent near enough 12 months playing that typical style of wall running and boost jumping, and having to adapt to that from Advanced Warfare, which was quite a harsh learning curve from boots on the ground. It felt rewarding to me to know that I could go into a game and pretty much start without having to train into this new technique of jumping on walls and aiming down your sight while you're in midair. So I personally initially started to think, yeah, this is not a bad game. I did notice that I had a lot of deaths and I got shot in my back a lot, and the map flow was very different to Treyarch's designs. But for example, Frontier was a map that I know a lot of people hated in the beta.
Yeah.
And it was an absolute rabbit warren, but that's actually one of my favorite maps now, weirdly enough. So it kind of shows that I think there was a learning curve, and I do believe that Infinite Warfare takes a degree of its own skill, and that's the mindset I've approached that game with. So initially, as the first few weeks of playing the game, I enjoyed it, and as you know, I was one of few people, including yourself, that openly admitted that I enjoyed the game. And I was, as the gun went off, I was one of the first people saying, yeah, I actually like Infinite Warfare, and the hate train was well in transit by then.
Yeah. And again, very similar to you. I mean, my mindset when the game released, I hit Infinite Warfare hard. Like, I hit it really hard. I was playing it a lot. Not only playing it, but I was doing a lot with it on YouTube.
Yeah, same here.
Like, I hit Infinite Warfare from both sides, YouTube and playing it really hard, and I was having fun with it. I agree with you that I'm glad that they stuck with the same movement. If they were going to have advanced movement, I feel like this style of advanced movement is the best way you can do it.
Yeah, definitely.
So yeah, that was a good aspect of it, I guess. Like, I just kind of stepped right in. Although I always felt like Infinite Warfare was so much faster paced than Black Ops, just because of the map design and the spawn design. That was the number one thing that jumped out to me, was just how fast paced, how much of adrenaline rush this game was. And even in Search and Destroy, that's the case. But yeah, I mean, really, I think once the leaderboards came out, finally, that was in January.
Yeah.
At the end of January, I had looked. That was the first time we could see how much time we had in the game, and at that point, I had 5 days played, over 5 days played.
So you've got a similar time to me then.
Yeah. So I memean, for me, that's hitting it pretty hard, considering the game had been out for 2 months and I had 5 days in it. So it's like, I definitely, there was a period of time where I was having a ball playing Infinite Warfare, but it was always a struggle, I feel like. And I don't know, and maybe I'm referring more to the YouTube aspect on this side, but I guess playing as well. For me, every time I uploaded an Infinite Warfare video, it was, at least a couple of comments saying, this game is complete trash, go back to Black Ops 3, or go play Modern Warfare Remastered, please. Half of my friends were playing Infinite Warfare, half were playing Modern Warfare Remastered, half were playing Black Ops 3. This game has been a struggle from day one, I feel like. I don't know if you got that feeling as well.
I don't ever feel this game was ever going to have a fair chance, and that is because of the type of community that we are at the moment. I feel that this community is so out of touch with Call of Duty, and Call of Duty is so out of touch with the community, that there's not many people that know what they want, and that's why there's such a fragmented group playing several different Call of Duty titles. I believe it was released by Activision that this is the 1 year where they've had the highest amount of players online, but it's across multiple Call of Duty titles, which speaks volumes about how the community is feeling at the moment. And for me, I was watching your video about the remastering, and there was points you made about the remastering fragmenting the community, and why there's cause for why they shouldn't remaster, and why there's cause for where they should remaster. And I was going to do a video on it myself, and I chose not to because I watched your video, and you hit the nail on the absolute head when you said it should be one, the release in November, then they go over to June, and then the release to remastered. Because I think a lot of players are getting burnt out very quickly on the game now. It used to last you 12 months. For me, on Modern Warfare 3, I've got something like 50 days played. I played that game for near enough 3 years on and off with my mates. These latest Call of Duties, I do find myself getting burnt out quite quickly, and I don't know if it's because of the negativity that is thrown in my face on YouTube and so forth as well, that is like indirectly and subliminally making me negative about the game. I don't know what it is, but I used to be able to play a Call of Duty straight for 12 months, but the way they've done the remastering for Modern Warfare Remaster and adding the supply drops and adding new guns and stuff, I don't really want them to remaster another Call of Duty on the basis that I feel that they're going to destroy these memories and this nostalgia that I've had, because a lot of people that play Modern Warfare Remastered are really upset.
Yeah, and rightfully so. Like, I get it. You know, Activision's a company, they got to make money, but at some point, they have to do some community relations, like, try and do something to ensure the survival of their franchise. Like I feel like they're very short term. They're about the dollar right now, and not necessarily about the long term health of the community.
It's funny you've said that about the community management, because I really genuinely believe the reason why Treyarch are so successful, apart from the fact that they're so great at making maps and stuff like that, is the fact that they were the run to the litter back in the early days of Call of Duty, and their games were always considered less polished until they came up to the Black Ops series. And World at War was a good game, but it still lacked the fluidity of Modern Warfare and Modern Warfare 2. But the great thing about David Vonderhaar is he seems to be willing to converse with the community. He seems willing to have a happy medium between MLG and the public. Whereas, is it Tina Palacio, I believe her name is, who's supposed to be Infinity Ward's community manager?
They got a new one this year. It's like, her name's Ashton something.
Never heard of her. I forget. And I'm a Call of Duty diehard, and I've never heard of her, which speaks volumes about the lack of community management. And we're having YouTubers like White Boy 7 Street having to do the community management for Activision, which is just absolutely hilarious in my eyes, because that shouldn't be happening. It should not be happening. For such a big title, there should be somebody that can be that happy median to make sure that the community gets a degree of what they want. There should be a degree of compromise for such support over the last years. And I do genuinely believe that Activision are at the point now where they're actually starting to realise there's a backlash against the game, because they've said certain things which I never thought I'd hear them say. And don't get me wrong, they did it in a politician's way where they didn't directly admit, but they still went along the lines of people being convinced that they've admitted something, you know what I mean? And it's just got to that point now where they've got to do something. They've got to do something. And
well, I think, thinking of their community manager, would you want that job? I mean, some of the stuff they do is indefensible. You know what I mean? If that's even a word. But like, I don't know how you get on and like put a defense up for some of the stuff that they try to pull off, like this whole variety map pack, selling it for $15. How, as a community manager, are you going to spin that to be a positive? You're not. Well, so I don't know.
If you look at it in the terms of, let's take it out of Call of Duty. Now, if you're, I don't know, most of my subscribers are going to be from America, and you're over that side as well. So let's talk NFL. If you're a manager for a big club, you take on that job knowing that the fans always expect results. The fans are the Call of Duty community, and they, in effect, pay for your team to get the wages they're getting and get the players in that they're getting through endorsements, seats, blah, 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 pay-per-view, this and that. It's all down to the community that builds that particular team and franchise to where they are. And you as a manager have to take the flack when you're underperforming. And it's the same for a community manager. You have to take that flack for the wages that you are paid to make sure that the community is happy. And that's I know it's going to be a near impossible job, but as always, there are certain jobs in the world where somebody has to do it. And I'm sure somebody out there has broad enough shoulders. I mean, who's the guy that is at Raven Software?
I don't know his name. I haven't followed that very closely.
Waddle or something like that.
Yeah. That's his Twitter. Yeah. I know who you're talking about.
He has people calling for him to make Raven Software make their own Call of Duty just because he's listened to a degree, and all types of YouTubers have praised him because he's listened to some type of degree. But also, again, the Call of Duty community have also cursed him because certain things that shouldn't have been changed have been changed, but he's took the flak for Activision's decisions because some people find it very hard to differentiate the two. But I just genuinely believe that we're at a crossroads now where the damage can either be repaired and we can have a great few years ahead of us in terms of Call of Duty, or it's just going to get to that point where this franchise will literally die. It's at that point. It won't die in a sense where it won't be around anymore. It just won't be the number one shooter. Something else will, which is a day I never thought I'd see for a long time. But for the first time, going back to Infinite Warfare, I'm struggling to get views on my videos if I put Infinite Warfare in the background. You know what I mean?
But not if you do Infinite Warfare sucks big balls
exactly,
in the background.
Exactly.
And that's the golden ticket.
And
right
I can't
there.
do that because I am genuinely a some people won't understand this. I am genuinely a lover of Call of Duty. Not many other games have even entered my console in the last 7 years because Call of Duty is more than a game for me. It's almost a lifestyle to a degree. Most of my friends play Call of Duty. Most friends that I've got that are in different cities, countries, I won't get to have a relationship with them if I'm not playing the likes of COD. And there's certain things that even in COD they've incorporated that has destroyed that to a degree. I mean, the banter that you used to be able to have because the forced chat has been taken away. Little things that they've taken out of the game have taken that magic away. And that was a question I had for yourself. What do you feel that they have taken away from Call of Duty that has made the game worse? Because there are things I noticed that are missing from the game that are very minor things, but it seems to have been for the detriment of the game. And I just wanted to hear your opinion on that.
Well, I think three things come to mind. First of all, and I made a video about maybe each of these, I don't know, but first of all will be the human element. I want human beings that are shooting real guns in my Call of Duty.
Yeah.
Second would be a skill factor. I don't like how far the skill gap keeps getting compressed. I don't like how randomized the game has become. I understand why they do that, but I think that, again, that is Activision vision focusing on the short-term success rather than a long-term success, and I don't think that's good. And third would be, I think that taking away, not taking away, but I think not forcing game chat is something that has hurt Call of Duty over time.
It really has. The amount of times I play now, even when I go on Black Ops 3, and you can see the emblem where somebody's in a party chat, and it frustrates the hell out of me, even when people are on my team and I can shout at them to tell them there's an enemy right in front of you. I'm on a nuclear streak. They could have took them out. but they can't hear me because they're in a party chat, and sometimes they're in a party chat with themselves, which it is to my personal annoyance as well. And I think it really takes out the social aspect. I mean, I heard a point from somebody, I can't remember who it was, about they wanted to stop the bullying and stuff, but there are set out criteria on the PlayStation Network and Xbox Live that if you're caught doing these things and it can be proven, then you'll be banned anyway. So them companies have already taken them precautions. They don't need to put this into the game. If you got an offensive emblem, oh, there's an emblem report button, we'll report you. I think the force chat needs to be implemented back into Call of Duty, and it needs to stay for the rest of its oncoming years. In regards to the likes of what you were saying about what was your second point again? Sorry.
I had the human element. I had the skill gap compression.
Yeah,
was
the skill
second
gap.
point.
That I think that is the biggest issue in my regards with especially Infinite Warfare. The amount of times now that I've played a game, and I tell you, I don't know if you've noticed something, Flint. When you look in the lobby leaderboard and you're in the lobby, have you noticed how many people have got nuclear player cards that have got ratios of 1.1 or 0.8?
Yes.
How is that even possible? How is that?
The only thing I can think is maybe in Infected. I think for a while in Infected they were giving that player card away if you got like 25 kills or whatever in Infected. That's the only thing I can think.
Well,
because a nuclear in Infinite Warfare is difficult, in my opinion. Like, respect to anybody who can get a nuclear in Infinite Warfare.
It is. However, I am noticing on occasions where I reckon I'm a half decent player. Now, anyone that's watched me like yourself will know I've got 5-6 nuclears on Infinite Warfare now. And if you watch my footage, even when I live stream, I never stop rushing. So my ratio could be a lot higher than it is, but it's a genuine aggressive. I'm a really aggressive player. I've always played that way. I can't help myself. I want the next kill now. And
yeah, I hear you.
I've seen people in my lobbies that have got 0.5 ratios who I cannot get them. I cannot kill them, but they will destroy me all game. And I genuinely believe that there's some type of conspiracy where a bad player gets some type of compensation in games to at least have a good game in every 10 games to keep them on the game. I genuinely believe things like that are going on now, because it's gone from Modern Warfare 2, where you could literally be a real pub stomper, to the likes of getting your video for noobs was absolutely brilliant. It was absolutely brilliant video, because although some people might have got butthurt about it, it is the truth. It is the truth. You play the game for 2 minutes, you get a specialist weapon where you can spray and pray and kill somebody like myself who's absolutely bust their ass to try and get their warden. I'm 80 points off it and I'm dead because some guys just sprayed me with a claw. Them are the things that are likely to turn people off Call of Duty, and I don't think they realise these things. It's they want to give people participation medals, forgetting that the real diehards are the ones that are going to turn up at your midnight launch and buy your hardened edition with your control car or your supply drop package, whatever. That used to be me, and I'm now becoming the guy that I brought the downloadable version, the cheapest one, as long as I could get Modern Warfare Remastered to see what it was like. I used to queue up for hours to get Call of Duty. I decided against it last year, and I can't be the only person in the demographic that feels that way. In fact, I personally feel that the majority of people feel that way about Call of Duty, and the people that they are paying attention to more in their eyes are the ones that will pick up the game when it's 20 quid as it is now, you know what I mean, in sale. And I think they're focusing on the wrong part of the community. What do you think about that?
I agree. I mean, I think back to Modern Warfare 3, and I went to go stand in line like 3 hours before it released, and there was already a huge line. So I happened to know somebody who was up near the front of the line. So I went up to them and I said, listen, I'll buy your copy if you buy me one. And that's how big of a fan I was. Not only was I willing to show up that early, but I was willing to buy another copy of it just to get my copy as early as possible, close to midnight, and then go home and play it. I wouldn't dream of doing that now with Call of Duty. Now, obviously, it's different with the digital download and stuff like that. It makes it a little bit more convenient, but even if that wasn't available, I don't think I'm there. But one of the things that you mentioned earlier that I want to go back to is you were talking about how you didn't feel that Infinite Warfare had a chance, and I agree with that. Like you felt like because of the community that this game was never going to have a chance. Yeah. I agree with that, but I don't feel like they did themselves any favors at the same time.
Not.
Like all the mistakes, all the stuff they left out of the game, how the game felt unfinished from the get-go, like all that stuff. They needed to release the game in a flawless state, knowing that it didn't have really a chance to succeed because of the setting and everything.
The community a chance to say, I told you so. That's exactly what they have done here. And so much so that Activision have now fired half of Infinity Ward, which I don't know if that was coincidental, whether it was pre-planned, or whether that is a small victory for the Call of Duty community. And I don't want to see nobody get fired, but if that message is being sent out by Activision, then surely that is a good thing for us as a community, because we would have had impact upon that decision by the sales being down, the game, even though the game outsold all other FPSs in 2016, I bet you by Activision's high standards, I bet they was absolutely pissed about the sales from them. There's been so many double XP weekends in Infinite. I've never seen so many because nobody's playing the game. And I'm starting to see that in my YouTube views. The only time that I will get plenty views on YouTube in Infinite Warfare now is that my Epic or Forget It series. That most of them videos are on 5,000 views, which is unprecedented for my Infinite Warfare videos, but
that's great, man.
It's because people have always wanted to know what guns in Call of Duty do the most damage. So I think that's something that logically, it's quite weird how it actually happened, because I found a kid who had got an epic weapon. It was a suggested video, and it had about 1,000 subscribers. And I seen the video he did, but I thought I could do my own flip on it, because he literally just spoke about this epic weapon, and that was it, saying how beast it was, you should get this weapon, blah blah blah. But it was one that was, I think it was the Volk that was stuck in the supply drop box.
Yeah.
So I thought to myself, I'll do that, but I'll do a version where I'll tell you, is it worth you spending 4,000 cryptos? Now, when I did this video, because he had 20,000 views on that, and I thought, wow, for a 1,000 subscriber channel, that's great, that is. So I done my own flip on it. Then I was told in the comment section, prestige is key. Now I'm being very genuine here, I've only recently found out who Prestige Key is, and when I found out about him, because I only really watch the likes of Thunder. I do watch T Martin every now and again to see what's going on, early access type of stuff. You know what he does? He gets early access, blah blah blah. But I was under the impression that Prestigious Key said he didn't like the game, and that he wouldn't be doing videos on Call of Duty Infinite Warfare. Then I found out he had his epic weapons of Infinite Warfare, which was interesting. So I think I've got a lot of traffic because of his videos as well. But it does show that there is an interest in Infinite Warfare, but it's more of you could put up any video about Call of Duty a couple of years ago and get views. Now it's almost like it's a specialist market of the few people that actually like the futuristic Call of Duty, and that is where Infinite Warfare has died, because that space setting, as Activision's own words, it didn't resonate well with people, and it really hasn't. And as you said earlier, I want my soldier to look like he's a US Marine Core is a special SAS soldier from the UK. I want to know that it's something almost lifelike, and the gun that I'm shooting is a gun that I could go to a shooting range and potentially shoot. And nothing hurt me more in Infinite Warfare than seeing that. I think it's the Cyclopean ERAD. I hate laser beam guns. It's not for me, and I think that was where I started to really start to feel to myself, okay, I'm starting to dislike this game now. And it was a sad day for me, because I'm an eternal optimist when it comes to this game, and I always try and see the best parts of it and take it for what it is. And I'm struggling to do that now. I'm at a point with Infinite Warfare where I've been jumping on Modern Warfare Remastered, and you know what people think of that game as well, but I'm just trying to prepare myself for the boots on the ground.
Yeah, I'm the same way, man. Like, I obviously, I've been doing a lot more Rainbow Six Siege. I've moved on to other games. I'm not playing Infinite Warfare very much at all. I'm not going to sit here and bash the game, but I'm over it. I don't know how much more I'll play of that game, Infinite Warfare. And I think for me, you were talking about the laser weapons kind of did it for you. I mean, obviously, the AK in Infinite Warfare shoots lasers. That's a problem.
Yeah.
And I don't know how you make that decision and think that that's going to be a good idea, but whatever. For me, whenever I started playing more competitive, it really sped up the process of me being tired of that game.
Yeah.
And it's not even, I wouldn't even say I'm tired of Infinite Warfare as much as I'm just tired of jetpacks.
It's the boot. And that is the amount of times that I've been having a good game, and then you get killed, you didn't see the person, and you look on the kill cam and he's above your head, and you think it's just not natural to be looking in that position for somebody, and they're not even on your screen, they're out of the frame, and it's so annoying. It's just so
and when you can play competitive, you're playing against the people who are going to exploit that to the highest degree possible. So that really sped up my getting tired of Infinite Warfare. But I mean, going back to what you said earlier, as far as Call of Duty's in the worst state you've ever seen it, and what do they need to do to fix it, I think that's a good question. I think that Call of Duty really needs to look at their whole system. Like, because it's outdated.
If you break it down into some bullet points, we'll both do this now. What would you suggest if you were sat down at a desk with Activision right now, and you was their professional in the community, and they wanted your advice? Get flanked. How can we bring this franchise back? What are you going to suggest to them?
I would say, obviously, this Call of Duty 2017 is going to be make or break for you guys. My suggestion for Call of Duty 2017 would be either Vietnam or future or current day. Yeah. I wouldn't go back to World War II, and I wouldn't go any in the future. It would be either Vietnam or current day, in between that timeline. I would say no specialists.
Yeah.
And I understand what they were doing. That's a trend in gaming right now. You look at Overwatch, you look at Rainbow Six Siege. The class-based hero system is a trend in games right now. Look at Destiny; they're doing the same thing, but it's not Call of Duty.
No.
And I understand they were trying to capitalize on that, but it's not Call of Duty. I say get away from it. Obviously, real people, real guns. Make your kill streaks strong.
Yeah. Make
your maps. Look at every Treyarch game and model your maps after those. All three Black Ops games. Let me see. I would say the DLC should be free. Like, enough with charging people for maps. There's two reasons. One, you don't have the player base you used to have Call of Duty.
Yeah.
So when you're releasing DLC and it's not free for everybody, you're dividing that player base even more. Two, you're making 74% of your money now comes from digital in-game purchases. 5 years ago, that was 34%. So I think you can afford to give those maps away for free because you're making enough off supply drops.
Exactly.
As far as supply drops, I know you're not going to give them up. I know there's going to be weapons in them. Actually, I will give it to Infinite Warfare. I think they've done the best job with supply drops. If you're going to continue to do supply drops, I don't like variants, but the way that Infinite Warfare has handled supply drops, I think has been the most fair system we've had so far.
So that point there, initially, I was looking from a no supply drop type of mindset, but thinking about it, especially when I did my supply drops video, there was a few comments in the comment section and a few people said the same thing as you just said yourself. And thinking about it logically now, that's probably the best part of the game in terms of where I can give them credibility and where something seemed more polished in anything was, and it does seem like they worked out. That was their whole 3-year cycle, was how are we going to work these supply drops, not the game. Hey, but
that's so sad, but it's true.
Credit where credit's due. I think the system's great because I've pretty much got every gun that I want in the game from salvage.
Yeah,
and I can't really argue with that. These new hacks and stuff that they're coming out with, I don't believe they're being given out in a more. There's something that I'm skeptical about. I think it's more to do with the player count than actually giving us a way to get the guns that we really want. I think it's to try and entice people on the game instead of actually being nice, because we know Activision struggles to be nice to the community. But I definitely agree that the supply drop system that is currently there it's decent. It's decent, and I am 100% sure that from now and forever we will have supply drops in Call of Duty, and it's just something now that we've had for 3 Call of Duties. The community has just got to learn to accept it now. You don't have to buy them. You do not. No one is putting a revolver to your head or a Desert Eagle and saying, you got to buy this supply drop here. So I think it's time that the community just let that one drop and focus on the real issues and trying to put the issues across in a diplomatic manner instead of saying stuff like, I'm going to come round and kill your family. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
How about
the last thing that I would say, as far as if I was talking to Activision, I would tell them that they have to start taking PC seriously. And you've got to invest some in the PC, because the community would be so much more healthy if you had a PC side of it that was just as large as the console side. But what would your bullets be?
The PC people are still playing COD 4.
Yeah.
So it speaks volumes about when a quality game is made. Forget Modern Warfare Remastered. They've been playing the original COD 4, and it's still got a good. I've done some research the other day. I think there's still a good 10,000 players online playing COD 4 on PC. I guarantee you that's probably as many people on the likes of Infinite Warfare at the moment.
Oh my God, PC Infinite Warfare! I would be shocked if there were 10,000 people playing
I'm
that
talking
game.
about the consoles here.
Oh yeah.
On the PC, it's
right.
dead. It's non-existent on the PC, and it's a shame because it's a massive community. The PC master race, as they say, it's a massive community, and they need to give people the option to do their mods, to do their servers, and blah blah blah. And speaking of servers, I'm gonna give you my list now of what I feel Call of Duty needs to prevail. And the first thing out of my mouth is going to be dedicated servers. How we have not had these implement. I know we've had the hybrids and stuff with Black Ops 3, but scrap that. We need a dedicated server system for Call of Duty. In terms of, I mentioned this in, I don't know if you watched the video that I did about Call of Duty and what it needs. But it was similar to Drifter's video, but I'll make it clear to everyone. I did the video before Drifter did. And Drifter made some good points, the same points I made, where he was talking about the tick rate and how other games have got their own dedicated servers. And Call of Duty in that term is lagging well behind the actual current state of first-person shooters, which is crazy to think that this is the most played FPS apart from CSGO, really. How can it not have dedicated servers? Which is just crazy to think about it, knowing that they made how much billion just off DLC. It's it's an investment for the future, if you ask me. It's like YouTube and Google. Google upgraded they've got an island with servers, from what I know, and they made these investments years ago because they had a vision of how they will grow. When you have a business model, you have to predict your future growth. Surely they should have known that they was going to get to this point a few years ago. Black Ops 2 would probably be the era I'm talking. And now what I would have done is had these servers ready for when we went into the generation of consoles we're in now, which I think was a bad move from themselves. I've mentioned party chat already, so I won't go into that too much, but force chat definitely needs to be in the game. I agree 110,000% in regards to what you said about specialists. They need to die. They need to go. And what you were saying about like Overwatch and Destiny and stuff, Call of Duty has lost its identity in that magnitude.
Yes.
It's the number one shooter. It doesn't need to be copying other games, and that's what it's done. And I believe that's what's been Call of Duty's downfall. The next game needs to be nitty gritty, old school type Call of Duty. Me, preferably, I would like to go to the Vietnam era. It holds a special place in my heart. It's one of the more graphic and brutal types of warfare. If they could have the gore that World at War had, that's why that game was so great and why people connected to it. Because I'll give you an example. The opening scene of Saving Private Ryan, when you watch them get on that beach and just the literally gore and people getting shot in the head and their helmet saving them, they take it off, then their head gets totally ripped off, limbs are flying everywhere. That resonates with a man. It's in his genes. We play cowboys and Indians with guns when we're kids. You know what I mean? It resonates well with us. You buy your kids Nerf guns. You know what I mean? It's as a boy. Yeah. And we're just, most of us, obviously there's a lot of kids playing Call of Duty, but there's a lot of grown men that would openly like to go out there and use an M16, but legally they can't. I know guns are outlawed in my country. So I get up on Call of Duty and I use it against some people on the screen. You know, it still feels very satisfying to run around feeling like you're a soldier and connecting. And I think that's what was Black Ops 3's saving grace with the specialists. Although it was a futuristic game, the backstories made you connect with them for some reason. And you kind of forgot that it was a future warfare game.
Yeah.
Whereas for me, I definitely would like to go back. I agree. I wouldn't go back as far as World War I or World War II and this civil war thing that people have been. I just believe that's utter, absolute nonsense. It will alienate. Obviously, I'm from the UK, as you know, so it would alienate the whole of Europe, and then it will be another Call of Duty. And that's no disrespect to America, because I find the Civil War very interesting. It's just the fact that we're the UK soldiers, you know what I mean?
Right.
So it's and I think it would be the same if there was to do a Call of Duty that was based in Europe and there was no Americans. It just wouldn't resonate again well with the community, and that's what they need to remember. It's a global thing, Call of Duties, and as long as there's some type of influence from each side of the continents, people will resonate well. And that's where I feel Vietnam, it's just a war river, but I think a lot of people resonate well with. And I did a video the other day, I'm not sure if you watched, about the top 5 or the best Vietnam War movies, because I believe that the next Call of Duty would be Vietnam. And you could see people who were writing in the comment section resonate with it well. And I was mentioning films like Full Metal Jacket and We Were Soldiers. And then people like these films would love another Vietnam. For me, my favourite Call of Duty of all time is Black Ops 1.
Me too.
It was because of the Cold War and the Vietnam era, and that whole espionage CIA spy thing was just brilliant. It was the first campaign I actually finished, partly because the PlayStation Network was down for 30 days.
Yeah, I remember that.
But it was just absolutely brilliant, and I adore that game with a passion. And I do love the modern era, but I just, as I was saying earlier, I feel there's something so gritty about that, and that's what Call of Duty is missing. It's missing that real soldier grit. You know what I mean? That boots on the ground. I'm a trained assassin. I'm a killer, and going on from that is kill streaks, score streaks, whatever you want to name them. They need to be somewhere between Modern Warfare 2 or Black Ops 2. They were the two games that I remember the most where I genuinely felt rewarded for getting my score streaks. And I'll say Black Ops 2 done a better they completed it better, and I say that because they actually put stuff in that would support the player that wasn't great, almost like specialists. I mean, the Guardian, the Hunter Killer Zone, these were for the players that didn't quite have the capability to get the swarm, but they weren't intrusive in the manner of you got them after a counter went down, which is why I hate the specialists, because I don't feel people should be rewarded for standing in a corner and waiting for their specialists to charge, then go out to kill people. I had a very harsh entry into Call of Duty because I brought Modern Warfare 2 in January. I was a New Year's noob, never mind a Christmas.
Oh my goodness.
And it was a harsh learning curve, but it's made me the player I am today.
Right.
I went from a 1.14 KD player to every Call of Duty I've played since the likes of Black Ops. I've been a 2 KD player now. You know what I mean? So I've done my absolute best to train myself, and that was because of the sheer addiction to getting better. And that's what Call of Duty are missing. People don't care about specialists. People don't care about participation medals. They are literally exploited by people. Even the good players can exploit them. You know what I mean? It's the likes of wanting to get better. That was my addiction to Call of Duty, ranking up and wanting to get better, wanting to see after that last game that I just played where I got 30 odd kills and 2 deaths, that my KD went up naturally. You know what I mean? Yeah. You can see an actual improvement in your stats, and the way they've put the stats in the game now, like the graph chart in Infinite Warfare that they stole from Black Ops 3, you can see your progress for the last 5 games to see if you're getting better. Them type of visualizations, they mess with your psyche. You naturally want to get better because that's what we want to do. We're perfectionists, all of us are, in big or small shapes or forms. All of us want to get better at what we do in it, especially with an addictive game like Call of Duty. And I think that's just something that they have to implicate in the next games. These powerful score streaks have to be there. Who cares about if you're getting pub stomped? Get better. And I think it's an attitude that Activision, they need to embrace again. Get better.
Yes.
Or play something else. But because Call of Duty is the biggest title, people naturally want to play it. Naturally. People come onto YouTube and watch people like ourselves and think to themselves, wow, I wish I was as good as this guy. Look at a few of our tip videos, and then they go back to the game, try it. If it works, bam, they'll return to us, subscribe, and they'll continue to play the game until they actually get better, because I know that's what I did. I weren't so great at the game, so I consulted the likes of Thunder, where I watched him play, and one of my clan members, Killer, I just continually watched this guy play, watched his flank routes, watched the way he he took his time, or he threw his nade at the start of the game and got the first blood. And you learn from these things. And that's where you was talking earlier about the skill gap. The skill gap needs to come back. That's what made Call of Duty great, is the fact that there was an actual skill gap. And there was a load of people that would always say, oh, Call of Duty don't take no skill. It does, because I've been there, and I've been the guy that's always been at the bottom of the leaderboard, and I've worked my way up from that. And it was because I learned to get better. So there has to be a skill gap.
Yeah, and I think the player base is changing somewhat. I think that that's kind of one thing that I think Activision has missed on. I think that Activision thinks that their player base is more casual than what it really is, and that's why I don't think they put dedicated servers in the game. I think they felt like that the average Call of Duty player wouldn't know the difference between the dedicated server or a peer-to-peer connection, and that's not true anymore. I think that they also think that the average player does not care about competitive or about being competitive, and I think that they're wrong about that too, because I think the next Call of Duty, if I'm going to add one more thing, it's going to be that they need a league play or something like that, a ranked playlist in there again.
It has to be similar to Black Ops 2. I think that was the game that had it done the best. I feel that there hasn't been one as good as that since. And as you was just saying about Call of Duty and Activision thinking that the players are casual, you tell me how many people you know with headsets, many people you know with SCUF controllers. I remember when I did my SCUF giveaway, the amount of people that subscribed to my channel just to win that SCUF controller, and a lot of them were kids. They were literally kids that stated. I had people stating their age in the comment section. People take things a lot more serious in Call of Duty than ever. Partly because of the MLG scene, and a lot of them, they're fans of Optic Gaming and Scumpy or FaZe and Clayster and stuff like that. These kids are literally doing what everybody does. You have a sports personality. You want to be Ronaldo. You want to be Pele. You want to be Michael Jordan. Now esports is the big thing. Oh, I want to be FaZe Adapt. I want to be Clayster. I want to be Optic Scumpy. And they see these guys holding the SCUF controller. They got the Astros on. You've already become a competitive gamer. You've already become, because you've already tried to get an edge over your competitors by wearing these things. We all know about dead silence in the likes of Infinite Warfare and Black Ops 3 awareness. These are the little things where you start gaining. I started to gain a lot of traction on Black Ops 3 when I started speaking about these sort of things, you know what I mean? And I started to realize from my analytics that these things are popular because a lot of people want to be a competitive player on Call of Duty now. So yes, with the league gaming and the league play, they have to get it right, which I believe, being Sledgehammer coming in next, I personally think they're going to do a good job. What do you think?
Well, I was getting ready to ask you that. Like I said before, that going into Infinite Warfare, before the game was released, I was cautiously optimistic about the game. And how do I feel going into the next Call of Duty? I guess I would say I'm optimistic because I think that Advanced Warfare was a good game. I think that the jetpacks, the way that they did the advanced movement, was a bit much. Yeah. But I think that the game was very solid. The game worked. When you look at that game from a technical standpoint and compare it to Infinite Warfare, there is no comparison. Yeah. Advanced Warfare was 10 times more clean and better designed than what Infinite Warfare was, in my opinion. Yeah. So that makes me optimistic. I feel like Sledgehammer can make a good Call of Duty. The question is, are they going to get the mood right? Are they going to get the all that stuff right? And I'm optimistic. I really do. I feel like you said in the beginning, I feel like Activision has learned. Yeah. And how much they've learned, I don't know, but we'll see with this next one.
I looking at Sledgehammer, it's almost like it's been written in the stars for them. They were the ones who introduced the likes of the advanced movements, and now they're going to be the people that take Call of Duty back to boots on the ground. Can they make Call of Duty great again? Now, looking at Mr. Schofield and Mr. Condry, they're some passionate ass gamers, if you ask me. They're very similar to David Vonderhaar. Yeah, I've not seen anybody from Infinity Ward, apart from Zampella and West, who are not with them anymore, obviously, that have been so passionate about Call of Duty. I don't really know anything about Infinity Ward as the actual development side. I don't know any names. I don't really see them active on Twitter. Condry and all that was suggested to me by Twitter, and I decided to follow them because I wanted to hear more about their little tweets that they keep putting up to tease the community, and that's what it's all about. That hype train is another part of Call of Duty. Do I think they can do a good job? If I think about it, and I'm honest with myself, I think they're going to absolutely smash this game. Now, I will go back to me being the eternal optimist, but they made one of my favourite Call of Duties, or helped to make one of my favourite Call of Duties of all time, which is Modern Warfare 3. Now, for all the bullshit that was in the game, like the support streaks and stuff, and the things that people didn't like, I still think that was a great game, and I agree. I had a lot of time on. And mentioning Gray has also admitted that he absolutely adored Modern Warfare 3. I know a lot of people that adored that game, and as I said earlier, I've had 50 days played on that game in total over a couple of years, and they lost half the studio. Then Infinity Ward, they lost half their studio. That's when the exodus happened. So Sledgehammer Games were brought in to help finish that game. And anyone who forgets that, if you start up your Modern Warfare 3 now, you will see Sledgehammer Games come up on the screen. And I think they had a pivotal part in making sure that that game was able to release in November. The game was complete, apart from the odd on the map glitch in one of the maps in the snow. I can't remember the name, Outpost or something like that, I can't remember. But the game was polished. And then, as you said, with Advanced Warfare, putting the advanced movements aside, it was a really solid game. I went back on it the other day, and although the movements seemed really weird, and it was really vertical. Yeah. The hit detection and stuff like that felt great to me, and the sound engine was great. And I just thought to myself, yeah, I know there was a few issues that people had with the Advanced Warfare engine, and that was shown in Modern Warfare Remastered, which is the same engine also. But I genuinely believe these are two guys who, they're desperate for this chance, and this is the chance they've been waiting for. Advanced Warfare was Activision's decision, in my personal opinion. They wanted,
and it was an afterthought, in my opinion. Yeah. If I was to guess, I would say they were at least halfway through production of that game when they were told they needed to do some type of jetpack.
Yeah, just to follow suit with the other future tech games. Yeah. As I've done another video on the likes of these, they was working on that Fog at War, which was a third-person Vietnam game. Now, me being logical and trying to stitch all the patches together, I personally feel that's why they're going to a Vietnam game. They've already got the blueprint, they just have to turn it into a first person, and they've both passionately admitted that that's the era they've always wanted to make a game for, as well as a World War game. I don't think Activision are going to allow them to do a World War game on the basis they're going to save that for 2018, so David Vonderhaar can do World at War 2. That's my prediction for the next.
I agree with that.
And I don't think they will allow them to do it. Going on to what you said in your video, I do genuinely believe by June, July, summertime, they need to rush out another remaster to save this franchise, because Infinite Warfare is clearly on the rocks at the moment. It's on the ropes. Yeah. Even myself, I've been wondering. I've I've not really had much traction in the likes of subscribers. I've had plenty of views, but subscribers wise, I haven't really been moving that much because it seems that people are just fed up of seeing this bloody game now. And I'm at a crossroads for the first time in my YouTube career where I have to play something other than Call of Duty, which is something I've never done. But if I want to save my channel, then that's what I've got to do. So it's had a massive knock-on effect, this whole saga with Call of Duty, for everybody. The likes of you got your nade shots, you've got a load of people. Chaos Silence is another guy. He hasn't played Infinite Warfare and he started to Martin. Nobody's playing it. And I did watch the likes of White Boy 7th Street calling out all the names of YouTubers that are speaking against the current game. And it's a sad state.
Yeah. But you know what? The good thing is that this is sounds crazy, but actually supply drops could be one of the saviors of Call of Duty, because how many people do you think are buying supply drops in Infinite Warfare right now? I mean, it can't be very many. Like, when you compare the amount of money that Infinite Warfare is going to make to Black Ops 3, it has to be completely like night and day. Like, I'm sure that Black Ops 3 made so much more money than Infinite Warfare. So at that point, that's going to get Activision's attention, and that's what's going to get us a better Call of Duty game. They're going to realize, hey, we need to make the game good in order to make as much money as possible. So that's going to be what saves Call of Duty, is the consumer affecting Call of Duty with their pocketbook. That's where we're at right now. I really feel like Infinite Warfare is there. There's no way that Infinite Warfare is making as much money as Black Ops 3.
Not even close. I would say, if I was to guess, I reckon Infinite Warfare made about 40, maybe 45% the money Black Ops 3 made. They won't tell us that.
No, they won't.
But I genuinely believe that is what has happened.
I would say that, or even possibly less. But I think that's a good place to start, would be around 45%. I agree with that.
We're both YouTubers. If you scroll back into your own history at your YouTube videos, or even better, go to the likes of a Call of Duty YouTuber and look at their views for each Call of Duty, and then watch Infinite Warfare's views. People are getting probably a third, if not a quarter, of the views that they've previously got on other Call of Duty titles, which that is, for me, is a great way of detecting how the community feels.
Yeah.
Because when you start searching for Call of Duty videos, you are officially a Call of Duty addict, because you're coming off that game, you're going away from it, and you're still thinking about it because you want to watch it on YouTube. And that's pretty much what got me started with my channel, is watching certain YouTubers and thinking, I'm pretty decent at the game, I'm quite confident on talking, I feel like I've got a decent voice and decent personality. Hey, I'll give it a try. And here we are now, 4,000 subscribers later. But it really does hurt me at the moment. It's like in my mind, I'm thinking to myself, I can't wait till November. But that's what happened, kind of like Biblical Reaper. That's what happened with Black Ops 3. I had a great year on Black Ops 3, absolutely brilliant year in regards to my first year on YouTube. And then I was like, yes, Infinite Warfare, another Call of Duty, were about to explode. And what an anticlimax it has been. And this is somebody, as you know, who openly supported that game and called out other people that hated it, telling them the wrong. And what's quite ironic is most of them are right. I've just slow.
I wouldn't even say that the game. I don't know. Everybody, different folks, different strokes. Okay, everybody has different tastes. But my biggest complaints, the reason I'm not playing Infinite Warfare right now, has very, very little to do with the core gameplay and the fact that it's not just all around a good game. Like, the reason I'm not playing it, I said it before, is I'm just tired of jetpacks at this point. And maybe that's not Infinity Ward's fault. Probably they were probably told to have advanced movement in this game, but it is what it is. I'm just tired of jetpacks. And whatever. I'm also enjoying another game more right now. So
for them to not have leaderboards and
they didn't do themselves any favors.
I feel like your conspiracy theories videos really intrigued me, and I thought it was brilliant, and it was a brilliant concept, because I do feel that there is a conspiracy theory that has happened with the likes of Infinite Warfare, and I believe there was working on another game and got told, you know what, the Black Ops 3 formula sold like hotcakes, scrap what you're doing, this is the game you've got to start, and they just could not get it out in time. That's how there's no way they had 3 years and they didn't.
There's no way.
There's no way.
I completely agree. If they worked on Infinite Warfare for 3 years, then Infinity Ward does need fired. Like, I'm sorry, like you said, I know it's real people, real jobs, but if they spent 3 years working on Infinite Warfare, they have no business making Call of Duty.
Yeah. But I find it very hard to believe that these are some of the top people we're talking about. They've been taken from their colleges and their universities, and they've been scouted for the talents by one of the biggest entertainment companies, especially when it comes to games in the world. They would not make that mistake. I believe when they said they've fired people, I don't think they've actually fired people. I think that's a publicity stunt also to try and win back the fans. And it's sad that I actually feel this way about Activision, but that is how they've got the community feeling at the moment. There's a big lack of trust. And for the amount of times that they've told the community something, and then I made the joke the other day, fuck you, Let's Stand, and then it's different form, it just speaks volumes about what Activision likes to do. But I actually do believe that they've finally got to that point, especially after this recent DLC with the Modern Warfare Remastered saga. I think they really they've got to have seen that the community is absolutely pissed to the high heavens, and people will actually keep their money in their pocket now. DLC wise, that's fine, but that's because the same players are making the same transactions constantly. I was going to put up a video for Black Ops 3 the other day, where I grinded out for. I brought the that package, they had a 75% deal.
Yeah.
And I brought that because I wanted to do a video to show you if you were wasting your money or not. And I got every box. I opened every single box, and I got nothing but melee weapons. It was only because I had so many duplicate keys I finally got the HLX 4 on stream. So effectively, yes, you do get a supply drop gun, because effectively that was what the recycled dupes from the actual COD points I brought gave me a gun that I did actually want. But it shows that if I didn't get that HLX and I was a different type of person, that whole gambling sense of frame of mind comes into play, where you'll spend another bit of money to get another set of COD points to try again. That's where they're making their money on the DLCs. It's from the compulsive gambler type people, which they know they're manipulating, but they won't admit that. Now, if they was to make decent DLC, they'd actually make more money, because more people would actually want to buy it. And I think Ghost was a great example. even though people shitted on that game so much. The fact that I could find a camo that I actually liked, and I think Advanced Warfare did it partially as well. You had the exo suits like the one that had the lightning bolts in it and stuff. You'd go to the store, you'd buy it for £1.70 odd or whatever it was. Bam, you've got it straight away. That was another viable supply drop kind of DLC thing that I thought was a great idea, because it gave you the option to actually get what you want without gambling for it. Now, if they want to go down the supply drops route again, there's certain parts of the game where, yes, supply drop only in the RNG kind of manner that they've got, and there should be other items where you should be allowed as a player to buy it directly. How they're going to balance that out, I don't know, but I think that would be the perfect supply drop system in my personal opinion, because it gives people an option as a consumer to consume something that they genuinely want. Whether that's camos, I don't know, and then they put the weapons in, that's debatable, but it's something, as I said earlier, that they're going to put in this game, and we have to accept that. Yeah.
Well, if only they would hire us. I know. I think a lot of people are on the same page as us, and I don't know. All we can do at this point is just kind of hope that they bring it around, and that the next Call of Duty is good, and a lot of these problems will be fixed with a good game. You know, I think that we saw that with Black Ops 3.
It's April, May next. It's April next month / May. I got a feeling next month we will start getting trickles of COD 2017, and we'll get a general idea of what is going to happen with COD this year, and people can start getting ready to pre-order or whatever they're going to do. But I do believe that irrespective of what happens this year, the next Call of Duty is going to outsell Infinite Warfare, just because the words boots on the ground. And they better not troll us. They better not troll and then do something stupid, because it would be absolute suicide. Although Activision are a Goliath in the likes of the gaming world, I think the community is actually David at the moment. And I genuinely believe that if they don't get this right, David would bring them down to their knees.
I agree. I'm excited to see what happens. I think, like you said earlier, I think that COD's in territory I never really imagined it being. So, with that said, do you have any last thoughts here? We've definitely gone way over our half an hour. But hey, time flies when you're having fun, right? Yeah.
It's a topic that we're both passionate about, and that's exactly why we've gone nearly 2/3 over what we said.
Exactly.
But my final thoughts are, for me, Call of Duty is not necessarily dead. I know there's a lot of people that keep using that term, Call of Duty is dead. It's far from dead. That's obvious. It's still outsold Battlefield 1, which was supposed to be this new kid on the block that destroyed everything. But Activision needs to have taken some lessons from what has happened with the PR disaster that is Infinite Warfare. And if they actually can be humble for a change and listen to the calls that they've been having for the last 3 years, then I think people were tired of the advanced stuff at Advanced Warfare. I think Black Ops 2 pushed the envelope to just about where it can go, because that game was a great game, and it was still boots on the ground. It was set in the future, but you had real guns, you know what I mean, that shot ballistic rounds and a bit of future tech. So I don't believe it's the future setting, it's the movement system. They've got to get rid of that. They need to bring back the score streaks that are powerful. They need to introduce a skill gap again. Look how many people watch CSGO on the likes of Twitch and stuff. You have to be skillful to play that game. You know what I mean? You have to be skillfully mind, especially in your terms of mind. And that's why Marker J is such a great player on Call of Duty, because he has that tactical mind. You're very similar, and that's why you're great at search and destroy, because you've got that tactical mind. They need to bring in a skill gap where people are challenged in their mind as well as on the screen shooting people. So it's not just about your Twitch reactions. If they can, to make Call of Duty, this whole term Call of Duty great again, I think the best way I can dumb it down and just break it down as a few words is they need to go back to basics. And the closest they had to back to basics, in my personal opinion, wasn't COD 4, it was Black Ops.
I agree with a whole lot of that. The last things I'll say, if I'm speaking directly to Activision, is the biggest thing for me, they just need to realize they're not the only game in town.
Nope.
Overwatch, I think, will eventually take over everything. That game is absolutely huge, and it gets bigger every day. Now, that's another Activision product, but in terms of Call of Duty, it's not the only game in town, and they need to understand that, and they need to be hungry again, and they need to release a Call of Duty like their life depends on it. If they can do that, I think that they'll make a good game. I feel like if they stay in their comfort zone and don't make Call of Duty edgy or gritty or dirty or human again, then they're not going to have a good game. So that's really my final things.
Now you've said that, it's just kind of gone off in my head. I used to go to work, and the first thing I could think about doing when I got in my household after I finished was turning on my PlayStation and my TV. I'd go and quickly have some food and a shower, and then for the rest of the night, I'd be on Call of Duty. And I haven't had a game that's made me feel like that since Black Ops 2. So that's the addiction's missing, and it's missing because of what people would refer to as all the BS in the game. And I don't even need to say what all the BS is in the game, because all the BS came from Advanced Warfare. And I'm not saying that any of the games that came, Advanced War, Black Ops 3 and Infinite Warfare, they weren't trash, but there's certain things in them particular games that weren't in the games before where the formula started to go wrong. They need to remove all of them, and then they will have a Call of Duty that people will love again. I can guarantee that. I
agree. Well, Truckee, listen, I appreciate you sitting down with me and talking about this. I enjoyed it, man. We'll do it again sometime.
Definitely.
I'm definitely down. Keep up the good work, man. I think I'm a big fan of your stuff. So anybody watching this, I know I said it before, but go check out Tracky's channel from my channel, and you won't be disappointed. He makes good stuff. And again, thanks for sitting down with me, man.
It's a pleasure, brother. I'm glad that you got to me and said you wanted to do it. I really am honored to be on your channel. Thank you.
You're welcome. I will, I guess, that's going to be it. So, we'll see you guys later.
Don't forget to shoot me a request on my PSN.